How long were you in Israel?
5 years.
5 years. That's a good amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
And then where'd you go after there? You said you spent some amount of time in Israel and then you went.
5 years in Mexico, but Mexico was before Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I forget now. It was something like, we felt we had done everything we wanted to do in Mexico with the light show. Oh, and we did some fantastic things. We were in the National Anthropology Museum doing a thing up there. Of course, we were using a lot of pre-Columbian instruments. Boy, they were great. Little animals, ocarinas and stuff in the shapes of lizards, and even genuine prehistoric instruments. They would find the clay things, and then there was this one guy, Jorge, who they let him have the originals, and then he would make copies of them and sell those. That was how he made his living.
Made them out of clay.
Yeah, out of clay. And then I remember that far out moment where, I forget, I guess he was leaving the country, or we were maybe all leaving the country. And he said, why don't you guys take these original instruments with you? He says, I'm not going to use them anymore. I mean, these are the kind of instruments that are worth, $5,000. That, they were the original things. And we hesitated for a moment out of some kind of, I don't know, aesthetic greed or something like that, and they said, nah, they belong to the country of Mexico and they should stay here, and, but.
And you said you were in Mexico for 5 years?
Yeah.
And what was your main goal or intention when you went there?
Oh, man, I tell you, it was great. First of all, I got to say, I lived in San Cristobal de las Casas, Chiapas, right down in the south near the Guatemalan border. And I was a single dad. We had a lovely, lovely place. So the main thing down there was this. All surrounding us in the highlands were the indigenous villages. So I had a kind of a panel truck like this, loaded up with instruments. We'd go into these villages on a Sunday, market day, spread out a blanket. I think it was still this one on top of the drum there. Anyway, spread out the blanket, start playing for people. But then we would let, especially the kids, know, okay, you guys can join us. And they didn't believe it at first, because, if you played an instrument then, how could you say that was really special and nobody touched somebody else's instrument, blah, blah, blah. So, but yeah, we had some great sessions there. Of course, in each town there would usually be one shop run by a white-skinned Mexico, the guys who speak Spanish with a Spanish accent from Spain, and they always thought they were king of the something or other because they ripped off all the money from these little communities. They were the one-stop shopping place, the food, and
right.
It was the only place usually.
And they were indigenous, so they weren't even speaking Spanish. Like Spanish was their second language. How did you communicate?
Not the shopkeepers. Those guys were
No, I'm talking about the people in the villages.
The indigenous people, they spoke Spanish about as good as I did. And so we got along really good. It's like I never spoke in the past tense or the future tense. I just would say before or after and then give the sentence,
Mm-hmm.
But then the second thing that happened that was super cool was I started buying their indigenous instruments from them because they made guitar, violin, bass, I think, they would just go out to the trees and cut them down and, start from scratch and use piano wire, from piano, but the thinnest of the piano wire. There's three different thicknesses.
Gauges.
Yeah.
And there was also the Temple Nazis.
The Tipanachli. Yeah. I still got one here, except it was made in, I'm surprised, this one is made in Willits.
Willits, California.
This is a little bit fancy. I mean, a lot fancy, really. But, and I should have at least.
And how many keys were the Temple Nasli?
How many
How many keys did they have on theirs, the traditional ones, in Mexico?
They were different. They,
usually two,
different
maybe
guys
four.
made different things, but I think they had at least six. And you see, these are whales, huh? These are whales. These are upside down, and these are all upside down, and these are right side up. And here's the mouse. And you know how they tune them, and I'm not sure how they do this, but I don't know when or how, but they tune them by underneath, inside there, I guess all they can do is take away some of the wood to I guess they make them higher like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I could always get the kids to play this because of the whales being there. Yeah.
I've also heard them called a tongue drum, like tongues.
Oh,
tongue drum.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have to be made of a hardwood.
Yeah.
The Temple Nazis in Mexico, they were made of hardwood, like mahogany.
That's it. Yeah. And this one is also, I think, hardwood.
And were they ornately carved?
Huh?
Were they carved ornately, or did they have pictures carved into them, or designs, or motifs?
I think most of the ones I saw were simple, without mouths, without eyes, and all of that. They were just the keys, because this is hard to tune when they're all different shapes like that, So most of them were just the shape, a simple shape.
Were they heavy?
Yeah, they were heavy. Yeah.
And they knew how to make them because they had been making them for a long time.
Fact, they were considered a gift for kings. One, well, you say chief if you want to call it that. The gift that one chief would give another chief was one of these. And then I think there was a special guy in the tribe who just played those, and I heard, I don't know, I heard that they were considered so sacred that if the guy made a mistake while he was playing it, they killed him. I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway, it's a good story.
And after 5 years in Mexico, then what brought on the change to go somewhere else?
I think because we just thought we had done everything we wanted to do in Mexico. And I tell you, we were doing the light show because my buddy John was working with me, but his wife, Carmen, she did the liquid light projection. And a lot of the time she wasn't good. Me and another guy, Dieter, German guy, we walked out on her a couple times when she she would just space out, When she was good, she was very, very good. But in any given show, she couldn't hold it up there,
I mean, to give it some variety and texture and movement.
Yes, right. We used a 10-foot by 10-foot screen. Yeah.
And who built the screen? What was it made of?
That's a good question. Don't quote me on this, but I remember, I think it was made from a sail, but it was really big. But it had to be thin, super thin, because we projected from behind the screen, so to speak. And me and the audience, we were in front looking at it. And the colors and when we used the dancer, they were behind the screen. So we had the lights like this, 45-degree angle, straight ahead, those three. I think it was green, red, and blue. And she had to be within a certain distance behind the screen to get the right effect. But man, it was really powerful. And as I remember now, there were all kinds of, all along the edges of her skin were all of these beautiful colors.